The introduction for this video is rather long, and it goes as follows. CFA Level 1, CFA Level 2, CFA Level 3, Kaya Level 1, Edge Study Program for the 2022 exam cycle. And the reason that the introduction is so long, okay, is because this particular video and this particular body of knowledge is covered in 4 separate areas. Okay, first of all, you will cover the guidance for standards of professional conduct 1 through 7. You'll cover that in CFA Level 1. Okay, I'm just going to show you all of this, guys. CFA Level 1, you will cover this in reading 58. That's what we've got over here. You will also cover it in CFA Level 2. Okay, carbon copy, no difference at all. Reading 46, you will also cover it CFA Level 3. Okay, reading 32 in the ethics section, and you will cover it as well in Kaya Level 1. Okay, in what they call their topic number 1. Again, carbon copy. So what you see over here, guys, okay, this is fantastic, what we call bang for your buck. Okay, if you study ethics well and you're doing the CFA program, well, you've got a guaranteed 3 uses of it, CFA Level 1, 2, and 3, reading 58, 46, and 32 respectively. And then if you decide to move across to Kaya, okay, well, then you can do this as well in Kaya Level 1, topic 1. It's the entire topic 1. Okay, just a word of caution, of course, those doing Kaya, okay, you will stop after standard 6. You only do the first 6, not the 7th one, because the 7th standard of professional conduct relates specifically to CFA exams, use of the CFA designation, etc. Of course, that's not applicable to the Kaya guys. Having said all of that, guys, let's get ourselves going straight away, okay? And keep in mind, I'm only going to record this video one time. There's no sense, okay, when the material is carbon copy to do 4 separate videos for level 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you are doing anything other than CFA Level 1, for example, you're doing Level 2, 3, or Kaya, and this thing says to you, well, it looks like you are doing CFA Level 1, because that's what the actual body of material says. Well, the body of material is carbon copy for Level 2, 3, and Kaya Level 1. Of course, it's just this particular set of notes that I'm going to be working from says CFA Level 1, but they're all exactly the same carbon copy, no change, and of course, no sense in recording the same video 4 times. Guys, let's get going. Okay, this is the third reading if you're doing CFA Level 1. Okay, CFA Level 2 and 3 are similar concept. They always start off initially a reading before this reading, okay, and we talk a little bit about what are the standards, but we just give a little bit of a listing of those standards. We don't go into those standards in any kind of great detail. Comes along this particular reading, and this reading that you can see, the name of the reading is called guidance. Okay, guidance for the standards. Okay, when we now look at this particular reading, what we need to look at over here, guys, okay, we've got 3 specific learning outcomes from here. Okay, we need to demonstrate the application, okay, of the standards of professional conduct, okay, to situations involving issues of professional integrity. Okay, identify conduct that conforms to the code and conduct that does not. In other words, conduct that violates the code and the standards. Okay, and then we come out at the end, okay, and we need to recommend practices and procedures that are designed to prevent violations of the standards of professional conduct. So guys, it's very much a case, and this is in any exam that you're going to get asked, okay, ethics and standards of professional conduct, the general way that it's going to be asked is they're going to give a scenario, give a story, give a vignette, and you're going to get asked, is this a violation or is this not a violation? And before we start going into the particular standards, it's always important to remember that just to have a bit of a sense of how they ask this, it's not just is it a violation or is it not a violation. Often it is, yes, this is a violation. Okay, for example, I'll just give you by way of example over here. Often they're going to say A, option, they give you the story first. Once the story's been given to you, they're going to give you option A, no, not a violation. B, yes, a violation. And C, yes, a violation. Now, when they move down to B and C, they're going to say, yes, it's a violation of what? And they're going to say, oh, standard 1A. This is a violation of standard 1A, okay? Professionalism, knowledge of the law, or perhaps no, this is a yes, it is a violation, but it's a violation of standard 2A, okay, material non-public information. So not only do you need to know yes or no it's a violation, okay, but they go a little bit more in detail. Often they're going to say, because, and often what we're going to find, guys, as we go through these particular standards, you'll notice that there are quite a lot of similarities between them. Often you say, well, is that misconduct or is that misrepresentation? Does that fall into record retention? And remember, as we go through this, okay, in total, okay, your 7 standards of professional conduct break down, okay, further into 22 substandards. Okay, so, and it's these 22 substandards, okay, that we need to be focused on quite in detail to be able to answer the questions. Okay. Let's get ourselves going, and we'll give guidance on how to answer questions and study these particular ethical standards. Just a word of interest as we start, okay. They're not difficult, okay. If anyone says, well, you know, are ethics difficult? No, they're not. Okay, you've got 7 standards of professional conduct which break down to 22, and it's fairly gentle, easy reading. Okay, you can't steal, you can't cheat. Okay, you can't get drunk when you're at work. Okay, I'll be a bit exaggerated, but they generally are fairly easy standards. Okay, the difficulty and the complication comes in the application of them. Okay, because what you're going to get a scenario, you're going to get a vignette, a story upon which you have to comment, is this a violation, is this not a violation, and if it is a violation, well, perhaps what are we violating? Some of the standards are very close to each other. Often it's very, you know, is it a violation or not? Well, it's not so easy to see or to assess the situation, because they're not going to give you nice and easy stuff. They're not going to say to you, okay, is one allowed to have 10 beers at work and then go and give investment advice? Well, no, you can't. Okay, but it's not going to be like that. Can you have 1 beer over lunch, which you normally only used to having a half a beer perhaps, and now you're having a full beer, and you might be, and it goes on like that. It becomes a little bit more vague. I'm being a little bit sarcastic, of course, but we'll see them as we go through. And the challenge with ethics, of course, guys, is then practice, practice, practice. Okay, and we're going to give you tons and tons of examples upon which to practice, okay. And relating specifically to the CFA Level 1, guys, you've got a lovely reading coming up, guys. Reading 60, which is ethics application, which is just, if memory serves, I think 37 specific questions on ethics. Just practice, practice, practice. That's how we get good at ethics. But remember, guys, as we go through it, it's not too crazy, not too difficult. Okay, the application is where it becomes a little bit difficult. Okay, and I mentioned that over here in our Edge note, guys. Okay. The key to success with ethics questions is plenty of practice. Okay, get back to work. Okay, let's get started over here. We start off with standard number 1, and what I do in terms of how these notes work. Okay, in terms of how the notes work, okay, for the 7 standards, standard number 1, of course, is professionalism, and then we break those down into their various categories. Standard 1A is knowledge of the law, and what I do, okay, is verbatim in the block that you see over here, guys. Verbatim, we just reprint the actual standard as it is. Okay, you could read that from the original text if you so wished. Okay, so obviously you're going to see 22 blocks over here. Now, my advice, at least on a minimum, for what I would like for you guys to do, is that you know that you go through these 22 blocks, the 7 standards, which are 22 substandards, and you can pretty much verbatim say what's in the block. Because if you can know it like that, and no, they're not going to ask you, please tell me what standard this is. Oh, this is standard 1A, professionalism, knowledge of the law. No, they're not going to ask it like that. They don't expect you to know it like that. I expect you to know it like that, and I would like you to know it like that, so that when you come out of the particular ethics section, you've got 22 blocks in your head that you are able to almost verbatim go over again, because when you now have to come and say, well, which violation have I done? Well, you can really go back in your head a little bit, and you can say, okay, no, that's not misrepresentation, very close, but it's not misrepresentation. Oh yes, it does fit into misconduct. Okay, so that's my wish list, if we could, that we know the blocks very, very well. Okay, after the block, guys, you'll see I'll give you a bit of guidance in terms of the standards. Okay, I'm just going to take you down over here a little bit. Okay, top of page 4, you can see over there we've got recommended procedures for compliance. Remember, that was part of the LOS, that we understand that we're able to give procedures to be able to comply. And then application, okay, page 5. Okay, and what I've given you, we've got detailed examples throughout this particular set of notes, because my firm belief is that the success to ethics will be in being able to apply. But of course, guys, as we get to the end of each and every one of these 22 substandards, and we've got this little thing here called application, I'll go through one or two with you as part of this video, but of course I'm not going to go through. You can see over here, just for the very first one, okay, there are already, okay, 8 examples just on the very first standard. So no, I'm not going to go through all of those with you, but we'll go through a couple of them just to try and get a bit of a sense of how they work. And then of course, guys, you will be left with tons and tons of applications, examples for you to go through. Okay, let's get ourselves going from the start. Tell you that was a basic intro to ethics. Let's start over here from the beginning. Okay, the very first one, standard 1, professionalism, knowledge of the law. Breaks down, by the way, guys, into 3. Okay, members and candidates must understand and comply with all applicable laws, rules, regulations. And look what's included in regulations, by the way: the CFA, Code of Ethics, and Standards of Professional Conduct. Okay. Of any government, regulatory organization, licensing agency, or professional association governing their professional activities. Number 1. That's point number 1. So point number 1 is members and candidates. Remember, guys, again, what's the difference? A member is a full-on CFA member, that they've passed the 3 exams, they've got their relevant investment experience, etc., and checked all the boxes, and are a CFA charter holder. That's a member. A candidate is when you are registered within the CFA program. Okay, and what's interesting, as you can see over here, guys, I'm not going to keep repeating it for you, but both parties, both members and candidates, are held to the same standards. Okay, you do need to keep to all 7 standards of professional conduct, as well as all their substandards as well. So point number 1 says that you've got to comply with all laws, rules, regulations, everything you've got to comply with. Okay, number 2, in the event of a conflict, okay, members and candidates must comply with a more strict rule, law, regulation. Now, what does that mean? That means if you've got 2 laws that are applicable, okay, you've got the let's say, for example, there's an ethical requirement per the standards of professional conduct on the one hand, which is very strict, but the actual law of the country is very, very lax. Well, you've got to keep to the CFA law because that's stricter. Okay, that's point number 2. Point number 3, members and candidates must not knowingly participate or assist in, and look at this one, this is where people sometimes go a little bit wrong, and must dissociate from any violation of such laws, rules, and regulations. That's number 3. So what does that mean? That means to the extent that anything that you, of course, not knowingly to participate, that of course would be a violation. But number 2 is you can't sit down next to the guy at the desk next to you, and he is in violation of standard 2A, okay, material non-public information, he's insider trading, and you say to yourself, well, listen, okay, I am not knowingly participating with him, okay, I'm not even assisting him, okay, I'm just, let him do what he does, I'm not interested, I'm not involved. That's not good enough. You need to dissociate from any violation. You need to move away from him. You need to make a big effort. You need to do whatever you can. You can't just not knowingly participate. That's not sufficient. Okay, we move on a little bit over here, guys. Guidance in terms of standard 1. Okay, members and candidates may work in countries that have got no law that governs a particular action. Okay, or even if they do have laws, but those laws, okay, differ from the code and the standards. Okay, and remember, guys, that might well be so, but the rule of thumb is that you always need to follow the stricter law. Okay, good. Okay. Members must adhere to the following principles. All laws that apply to their professional activities must be complied with. Okay, and the code and the standards may never be violated, even if that conduct is legal. For example, is it legal to go and have 10 beers at lunch? Yes, it's legal. You're an adult, you can have as many beers as you like, as long as you don't upset and hurt or do anything untoward once you've had your beers, or your wine, or your whiskey, whatever is your vice. Okay, but according to code and standards, you can't have that amount of alcohol and then go back and give investment advice. But according to the law, of course, you could. Well, perhaps we need to see what the law says. Okay, but you can see that there's clear differences between what may be considered to be legal. An action might well be legal, but violates the standards of professional conduct. Then, of course, you can't do it. Okay. Look over here. What if other parties performed a violation? It wasn't you. Okay, it wasn't you. You never did anything. Okay, another party did it. Okay. Now the big question is, what do you do in such a case? Okay. We go up over here. Okay. Remember what we said. Okay, that members will also be held responsible for violations. Okay, if they knew or should have known that their conduct may contribute to a violation. So one has to be a little bit careful as well, that not only is it that you can't knowingly participate, but if you know, for example, that there'll be that whatever you're doing, okay, may contribute to the violation, of course, that's a problem as well. Now, let's go down over here. What must be done if you suspect that a violation is taking place? Okay, number one, approach your compliance officer or supervisor. And guys, you're going to see later on, okay, we've got a lovely standard. One of our substandards is called responsibility of supervisors. We'll look at that one again. Very important, guys, as you go through this, okay, the entire standards of professional conduct needs to be read all together. You can't read it in isolation. Okay, now, step number one, the member may approach the violating party. So if you want, you can go and violate them. You may also consult with your legal team. Okay, but clearly coming out of the standards, guys, what do we see? They must approach their supervisor or the compliance department. Okay, step two is you dissociate. Okay, if the violation then continues, you must dissociate from those parties. You can't just remain inactive and ignore the violation. Okay, you need to actively dissociate. Okay, and what's a scary thing over here, guys? I'm sure no one wants to hear this, but we have to say it, so we will. Okay, what is the final form of dissociation? If it gets so bad, guys, you may need to resign your employment, which is a big one, of course. But that's the final form of dissociation. If it continues, and perhaps it might even be your boss that's doing it, okay, and you can't escape this, well, then you need to resign your employment. Okay, top of page 4 over here, guys. Recommended procedures for compliance. Okay, for members, let's have a look over here. Stay informed of all the laws, rules, and regulations. Okay, keep on reviewing procedures, the firm's compliance procedures. Maintain current files of all laws, rules, and regulations that you're kept up to date. Okay. Understand all the applicable laws and rules. Okay. If you're in doubt, seek legal counsel. And of course, dissociation as well. We spoke about that. What are recommended procedures for firms? Okay. Develop and or adopt a code of ethics. Okay. Every firm, even if they are not CFA charter holders or members, okay, or candidates, they should develop, okay, a code of ethics. The firm should provide information on all applicable laws, and there needs to be a bit of a procedures in place for reporting violations. Okay, over our page over here, guys, let's have a quick look at application of the standard, top of page 5. Okay, let's have a look at the first one. Okay, Mark works for an underwriting firm. We're doing case number 1. Okay. He files Company A's information with the regulator, and then one of Company A's employees tells Mark that the information that he had been given was really overstated. So what should Mark do? And guys, remember the course of action. Report the situation to his supervisor. And remember what we said a little bit earlier, he may or he may not, depend on what he wants to do, but he may seek legal independent legal opinion as well. And he needs to also determine whether the regulator needs to be informed. But clearly a violation has occurred over here on the part of company A's employees, okay? And of course, that needs to be looked at. Okay, let's look at one more. Okay, let's pick up number 4. I'm just picking arbitrary, with no particular purpose, numbers over here. Lee works for an investment firm in a country that allows insider trading. Lee wishes to insider trade. Okay, and of course, based on the principle, and you can see, guys, they're fairly gentle examples, of course, but really just to make sure that we are able to apply the particular standard. Okay, of course, guys, Lee may not insider trade, and the reason that she may not is because, remember, she is bound by the stricter law. The stricter law is the code and the standards which prevent that in terms of standard to a material non-public information. Okay, away we go. Guys, I'm not going to do any more of those together with you. We move ahead and over here. This is block number 2, professionalism, independence and objectivity. Members and candidates must use reasonable care and judgment to achieve and maintain independence and objectivity in their professional activities. Second part of this particular substandard, members and candidates must not offer, solicit, or accept any gift, benefit, compensation, or consideration that reasonably, look at these are your key words over here, that reasonably could be expected to compromise their own or another's independence and objectivity. Okay. And the obvious question, guys, as we go through it, which we need to establish, is what kind of gifts are then acceptable, if at all? Okay. We move down here to guidance. Okay. External sources may try and influence the investment process, that we know, of course, guys, by offering analysts and managers a variety of benefits. Okay. The member must distinguish between receiving a gift, benefit, or consideration from a client, okay, and from gifts given by those seeking to influence a member or candidate to the detriment of other clients. Okay, so just receiving a normal gift is normally okay. One has to just determine what is the purpose of the gift, and if the purpose is to influence a member to the detriment perhaps of others, that of course becomes a problem. Okay, look what we say over here. Okay, so we come out of this particular standard, and we're going to come out and we're going to see that some gifts may be received, some gifts may not be received. What may? Gifts that will not compromise, and gifts that will compromise, okay, may not be received. But however, having said that, all gifts, and of course we're only really talking about those that can be accepted, because those that can't be accepted. So those gifts that you are allowed to accept, okay, we always say, guys, disclose that to your employer. Okay, either prior to or after being received, because sometimes you might just get on your desk and then it's been received already. Okay, but of course, guys, and this point is so important. Gifts that impair a member's independence and objectivity may never be accepted. You can disclose them for 100 years. It's not going to help you. They may not be accepted. Okay, let's have a quick look at the major areas that compromise a member's independence and objectivity. We look at the buy-side clients. Okay, remember the buy-side clients. Okay, they may try to influence the sell-side guys. Fund manager relationships. Okay, these are specific relationships relating to fund managers. So watch out for those as well. Investment banking relationships, okay, watch for those, because remember, the investment bankers are typically those that have got access to quite a lot of information that the other areas within the bank would love to get hold of. Okay, performance measurement and attribution. Okay, remember this might also be an issue. Okay, because everybody wants to present the best performance that they possibly can. That may challenge independence and objectivity. Public companies, okay, of course, analysts may be pressured to giving good recommendations. Okay, have you ever seen an analyst give a bad recommendation? Okay, there was a lovely book, by the way. Hopefully, when you finish your particular studies, you get a little bit of time off, you can read this fantastic book. It was written by an economist called Burton Malkiel. Okay, I think it's called A Random Walk Down Wall Street, and he looks at the various aspects and components of the market. and he looks at analysts and their recommendations. And I think he took around about 100 analyst recommendations, and I think 99 were buy recommendations and one was a hold. And he had a good laugh at that, and he said, well, is there nothing to sell on the market? Okay, good. Number 6, credit rating agency opinions. Okay, remember again, credit rating agencies, they give ratings to the credit ratings. Those, of course, are also subject to independence and objectivity concerns. Manager selection and procurement process. Okay, when serving, okay, in particular in a hiring capacity, again, be careful not to solicit gifts and etc. and things like that. Over our page, 2 very important ones on top of page 7, guys. Issuer paid research. Issuer paid research is often, okay, a company may hire analysts, okay, to specifically research their businesses, and they pay for that. That's called issuer paid research. Okay, of course, members and candidates need to adhere to very strict laws as to what can and cannot be disclosed. An important one we conclude with over here, guys, point number 9, is travel funding. Okay, best practice for travel is that members and candidates pay for themselves, or their company pays for them. Okay, however, okay, are they, let's say for example, Standard Bank or Standard Chartered is taking all the analysts away on a trip to go and look at a new bank that they're opening, for example. Okay, would the candidate be allowed to join them on that flight, even though it's all being paid for by the business? Yes, they would, as long as, of course, we'll see later on, as long as, of course, the travel and the accommodation is reasonable. Okay, when it's become clear that the public company is trying to influence the analysts by taking them to a 7-star hotel and all that kind of stuff, then that of course then becomes a problem of this particular standard, independence and objectivity. Okay, we move on over here. Recommended procedures for compliance. Okay, let's have a look. Protect the integrity of your opinions. Okay, create a restricted list. Okay, what do we mean by that? Okay, when you deal with controversial companies and opinions, perhaps, okay, only send out factual information. Restrict special cost arrangements. Okay, try not to fly by jets and any other kind of fancy things like that. Limit gifts, and look at the word that the standard gives us over here, guys. It says that what kind of gifts can you accept? Tokens. What are tokens? Okay, I know with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, tokenization and tokens have taken on a whole new meaning. That's not what we're referring to here. Here we're referring to a token, a little amount, a small amount, okay, that will not hamper your independence and objectivity. Restrict investments. Okay, before you make investments in certain, as an analyst, as a candidate, as a member, get permission for those prior approval. Review procedures, make sure you keep to all of the firm's procedures. Independence policy, a formal written policy on independence and objectivity, okay, should be established, and there should be an appointed compliance officer to take care of all of that. We look at top of page 8 over here, okay, application of the standard, okay, and let's just have a quick look, obviously, just due to, okay, people's time, okay, I will just go through one over here. They look a little bit longer. Trishal, a mining analyst, was invited by a mining company on a tour of their facilities. Okay, the mining company paid for her flights and Spartan accommodation. Spartan is minimal, didn't pay for much. That was Trishal. T, a minerals analyst, was also taken on the tour of the mining company, and T paid all of her own bills in line with the company policy. Okay, so T, of course, let's go backwards over here. T would not have violated the standard even if she had not paid for her own flight and accommodation. So for sure here, when she did pay for her own accommodation, she was fine. She did what we call best practice. Let's go to her friend Trishal, okay, who the mining company did pay for. Okay, and what do we say over here? Members must use their judgment when evaluating if their independence and objectivity has been influenced. Okay, and probably since the trip was purely for business, the hospitality was Spartan and not extravagant. No violation therefore took place. So, and this is, guys, this is what you're going to be expected to comment on. Did a violation take place? Yes or no? And if you, and you've got to go through it. And you can see here we're really getting a little bit vague. Okay, so best practice, pay for yourself. But we see over here Trishal didn't pay for herself. She was paid for. But the clincher over here was that it was Spartan accommodation. Okay, if we had to change that to extravagant accommodation, we've got problems. Okay, and there we go. There's a whole batch of further applications for you. Okay, as I mentioned, okay, they are many. And why are they so many, by the way? You can see over here we're on to number 16. Okay, the reason they're many because I've taken them directly from the CFA's book called The Standards of Professional Conduct. But if you look at them in the CFA's book, no complaints at the book, of course. Okay, and we don't mean to knock the book at all. But if you do have a look at them in the actual original text, you'll find that they are much, much longer. All I've done for you, okay, is I've taken them and I have condensed them hugely just to make sure that we get the actual point out of it, to make sure we get the actual case from it. But if you have a look at those can be those that we saw on the previous page can run into several pages each overall. Okay, so all we've really done is we've given you a complete picture of them, but in a much more condensed fashion. Okay, we move down to standard 1C, professionalism. Okay, misrepresentation. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Okay, another important one. Okay, members and candidates must not knowingly make any misrepresentations. Okay, relating to investment analysis, recommendations, actions, or other professional activities. And I want to just stop here for a second, guys. Okay, and again, just to highlight that these four words come up time and time again. It's very consistent across the standards. Okay, so members and candidates must not knowingly make any misrepresentation relating to what? Investment analysis, investment recommendations, investment actions, or any other professional activities. Guys, take those four, put them in your pocket, and please remember them. Okay, the standard gives guidance on the following major areas. Number one, plagiarism. Okay, plagiarism is really copying or using substantially the same materials of others without acknowledging the source of the material. What's forbidden under plagiarism? Let's take a look over here. Okay, using other people's material and only making slight changes, using estimates made by other people. And guys, what is allowed, and I just want to contrast these two for you. Okay, using statistical information, okay, is allowed. Using statistical estimates, okay, because remember somebody else made those estimates, that goes under the forbidden section. So they're both statistical kinds of data, but if someone took that data and made their own estimates, well, that you can't use. The raw statistical data, that you can use. Other people's charts and graphs may not be used. Other people's spreadsheets may not be used, of course, unless you get their permission. Okay, and you can't also take someone else. This is a famous trick that I see a lot of people do these days. Okay, and I can advise you it doesn't work, by the way. A lot of people just take other people's spreadsheets and make minor changes. It doesn't work, guys. Often you're going to save yourself time, energy, and errors if you make your own spreadsheets. I can tell you that from experience. Okay, and all form of communications are forbidden. Okay, you can't copy anybody's information, even oral communication as well. What then may be copied? Well, just factual information. Okay, that may be copied. The inflation rate year on year is X, Y, Z. Yes, that of course you can copy. Statistical information you can copy. And what's an interesting one? Okay, you can use the firm's material even if you had nothing to do with that. So, for example, you can, if you work for a major corporation and they have got software that they perhaps use, you of course are allowed to use that software as a representative of the firm, even though you had nothing to do with making that software. Okay. Number two, performance reporting. Okay, in terms of this particular standard, guys. Okay, misrepresentation. Okay, Members must not misrepresent the success of their performance, okay, by presenting benchmarks that are not comparable. So don't come out and say, well, I performed 5% better than the benchmark, okay, if you are not comparing your performance to an appropriate benchmark. Okay, social media, okay, watch for those. Okay, you cannot misrepresent anything, even on, and that's become so prevalent today, the use of social media. So watch for that one. Omissions, okay, omission, okay, is as important, guys. You can't leave out the one hedge fund that you managed that went completely insolvent, just leaving it out. We say, well, I didn't report it. Okay, leaving it out is as important in terms of the information as well. Work completed for the employer, guys. We see a vital one over here. I just want to highlight this. I'm going to put it in yellow. Work completed for an employer belongs to the employer. So you might have spent 2 years developing a model, and this model can predict equity returns for the next 500 years. It's the most fantastic model. It's intuitive, it's intellectual, it's even an AR model. This is the best thing ever. But you did it for your employer while you worked. It belongs to your employer. Can you take it with you when you go? If you leave, no, you can't. But don't worry about that, because remember, everything is interconnected over here, and we will go much more into that, guys, in terms of standard 4A loyalty to employers. Okay, but we'll get to that one. But just as I said, everything in this particular thing is quite interrelated. Okay, top of page 12, recommended procedures for compliance. How do you comply with this particular standard? Factual presentation. Try and limit your presentations to just facts, what's actually true. Qualification summary. Prepare a summary of your own qualifications and experience. Okay. Verify outside information. Maintain web pages. Plagiarism policy. Have a policy in place for that. Maintain copies. Attribute quotations to whoever they belong to, and attribute summaries as well. Okay, don't take other people's stuff, guys. Okay, top of page 13. Let's have a look at an application of this particular standard. Okay, good. Let's just pick number 2. As I said, we're just going to pick these arbitrarily. And remember again, guys, okay, these are the cases directly from the CFA textbook, which I've just taken and not plagiarized. Okay, of course not, but that would be a violation of standard 1C, but we've just taken them and we have culled them and made them a little bit more useful for you. Okay, because I know people are not going to read the whole standard if I ask them to read it per the CFA standards. Okay. Steve is responsible for the calculation and marketing of his firm's marketing materials. He incorrectly calculates the value of the portfolios under management as 200 billion instead of the actual 20 billion. Okay, the marketing materials are all sent out before he notices his error. Okay, so let's see what he's done. Okay, so let's see, has he violated this particular standard? And look just how I want us to be careful with the answer over here. No, he hasn't violated misrepresentation. And why has he not? Because he incorrectly calculated. You know, there's the famous saying, I don't know if you guys are aware of it, okay, to err is human, to forgive is a little bit more difficult, okay, is divine, okay. And so he's so if you had to get asked this in a question, has Steve complied with standard 1C, or sorry, has Steve violated 1C? No, he hasn't. He hasn't, because remember, in terms of this particular standard 1C, okay, and you read, and if I take you back to it, what does it say? Members and candidates. Okay, I've done this often, so I do know these guys. So don't be impressed. I've just done it so many times. And it says members and candidates must not knowingly make misrepresentations, etc., etc. So he didn't knowingly, okay, so he hasn't violated the standard. Simple. So if you get asked this in an ABC, in a multiple choice question, okay, has he violated 1C? No, he hasn't. But, well, there's a second step over here, but straight away contact those that have received the incorrect marketing materials and then correct them, because if you carry on now and you don't move to step number 2 and you say, okay, well, so what? Okay, laugh, that's a bit of a funny error that I've made. I've overstated the assets by 10 times, 200 billion versus 20. Oh, I think we'll get more clients like it. That's a nice little trick I've done. Okay, that now becomes a violation because now it's knowing. Okay, so just watch for that one. Okay, and you can see over here, guys, there are a ton of these as well. Enjoy them, please do them and enjoy them. There we go, turn pages, guys. You can see how you thought we'd be out all day, but I do like to turn pages over here, guys, because we are not going to do all of these together with you. Okay. We are now on page 16 if you are following along. Okay. Page 16 is professionalism. Okay. Misconduct. Members and candidates must not engage in any professional conduct involving dishonesty, fraud, deceit, or commit any act, okay, that reflects adversely on their professional reputation, integrity, or competence. Okay, good. Let's look at some of the guidance over here. Members must avoid all conduct that reflects poorly on the professional integrity, good reputation, or competence of members. This would include, guys, of course, no lying, cheating, stealing, okay, anything like that, okay. But look what the standard says. It's a bit of an odd one, and this is where we're going to score marks or we're not going to score marks, okay. It's a violation if what? If it reflects adversely on your professional activities. That's all that the standard says. It doesn't say don't steal. Okay, not that stealing is a good thing, guys. Okay, but that's not what the standard is saying. The standard says don't engage in anything involving dishonesty, fraud, deceit, blah, 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 okay, or any other act for that matter that reflects adversely on your professional competence. Okay. Look at this. An act may constitute a violation, okay, even if it's not legal, not illegal. Okay. So it may well be that according to the law you can do this particular action, okay, but it might well then still be a violation of misconduct. Look over here. Abusing alcohol during business hours might constitute a violation, okay. Why? And why might abusing alcohol during work hours be a violation? Because it could have a detrimental effect on the member's ability to fulfill their professional activities and responsibilities. Okay. What about bankruptcy? If a person, unfortunately, due to bad circumstance, has to declare bankruptcy, okay, that is not necessarily, okay, of course, not necessarily involve fraud and dishonesty, but in the normal course of business. Okay, that may not necessarily be a problem because, you know, that's bad circumstance. It happens. Many people will declare bankruptcy throughout their investment careers. Okay. Let's go through some of the recommended procedures for compliance. Develop a code of ethics. Okay. Detail a list of all possible violations and check your references of potential employees. Do employee references. Okay. Top of page 17, let's have a look at an application of the standard. Okay, some questions over here. Okay, okay. Let's have a look. Let's go down a little bit over here. Yeah, try and find one that's a little bit. Okay, I want to pick number 4. Okay. Zoo is an investment analyst as well as an environmental activist. Okay, he has been arrested several times as a result of his participation. And look at the words over here, guys. His participation in non-violent protests against against companies that damage the environment. So he's quite he doesn't like companies that damage the environment. So what does he do? He protests in a non-violent manner. But yes, so he gets arrested for that. Okay. And look over here, very important. Is this a violation or not? No, it's not a violation. Why? Okay. Because the infringements don't impact poorly on his reputation or integrity, and his competence has not been compromised. He's still a very good investment analyst. Okay, albeit a jailed one, but he's a very competent one. Okay, and look over here. This is important, the first dot over here. Misconduct does not relate to legal infringements. Okay. Integrity of capital markets, material non-public information. Okay, look over here. Members and candidates who possess material non-public information, okay, and the words, there's two words over here, that's all that you need over here. Material, what is material? I'm taking you down a bit over here. If the disclosure would have an impact on the price of the share, or if a reasonable investor would want to know about this before they invested. That's called material. So, going back, members and candidates who possess material non-public information. What's non-public? Okay, information is non-public until it's been disseminated widely to the marketplace. Okay, good. Then it would be called public. Now, just remember, just on that note, a little side point: if the CEO, the CFO of a large public company has an analyst presentation, and let's say, for example, 50 analysts attend, okay, and he gives them some sensitive information which we would deem to be material. That information is still what? Non-public, even though it's gone out to 50 analysts. That's not the general public. Okay, just watch for those. They like it. Okay, let's read the standard again. Members and candidates who possess material non-public information that could affect the value of an investment must not act. Look at this, guys. Must not act or cause others to act on the information. So you can't trade for somebody else. Everybody likes that one. Okay. What type of information? We've just given you a few examples over here. Is considered to be material. Earnings, mergers and acquisitions data, changes in assets or asset quality, innovative products that will be developed, new licenses, changes in management, changes in auditors, and of course the list goes on. Okay, we now come up with a lovely theory which will help us not violate this particular standard, and that's called the mosaic theory. Now remember what we said before, okay, that in order for a violation to occur, the information must be material and not public. But if the information is not public, so it could be a bit of a problem, but it's not material. It's not material. And why is it not material? Because maybe an investor wouldn't want to know about it or something like that. Then it is permitted. Okay. And just watch for that one, guys. That's a big one. By way of example, okay, I'm going to take you back over here, guys. Okay. What if, in terms of the mosaic theory, what if, okay, you happen to witness something? Let's say, for example, okay, you walked into a lift, an elevator, okay, on your way home from work. Okay, you're an intern, so of course you were working late. Okay, and you happen to, as you walked into the elevator, who is there next to you? The two CEOs of two big banks. Okay, JP Morgan and Citibank. Wow. Okay. And they look a little bit embarrassed to see you, a little bit surprised, a little bit unhappy to see you. They were hoping that whatever they were doing, meeting, you don't know what they were doing because you just saw them together in the elevator, would remain quiet, but it didn't. You've now seen them. So let's have a quick look over here, guys. What have you seen? You've seen something that is not public because you saw it in an elevator in a private building where you worked. So it's not really a public area. So it's probably classified as being non-public. But it's not material. It's not material. Why is it not material? Because you don't know what they discussed. They may well have been discussing a merger of the two businesses. They may well have, maybe their son and their daughter are getting married. Maybe they're discussing wedding plans. You don't know. But so what do? So you say, that looks a bit fishy to me. What do? You go away and you do yourself a whole batch of work on it, and you say, Citibank, JP Morgan, wow, that looks like a lovely merger. And my sense would be, after you review tons of financials and you review the annual reports and you talk to management, you come out that you believe that JP Morgan will be putting in an offer to buy Citibank. But that's your own idea. But where did you get it from? You got it from non-material, non-public information. That's called mosaic theory, and that is fine, of course, guys. Okay, over our page over here. Okay, let's go. Okay, social media, to the extent that information reaches all clients or is open to the public, okay, that of course would be fine as long as everybody gets it. Okay, that is considered to be disseminated to the public. Are you allowed to use industry experts, or is that considered to be a violation of inside or information that's not public? Okay, of course you can pay individuals for their insights. Okay, as long as the information that these experts are using, okay, is not material and not public. Okay. Okay. There we go. Investment research report. Okay. When a well-known investment analyst makes a recommendation, just be careful, okay, that if that information is likely to rock the market, okay, that information might be considered material. So just watch for that. Okay. Recommended procedures for compliance. What should you do? As much as you can, guys, try and achieve public dissemination. Try and get the information out as soon and as publicly as possible. Okay. Adopt compliance procedures. Adopt disclosure procedures within your firm. Issue press releases if anything ever does happen, guys. Okay, just try and get that out as much as you can, as publicly as you can. Okay. Firewall element. What's a firewall? Okay, a firewall is a barrier between certain elements of a firm. Okay, which will restrict the flow of confidential information. Physical separation of departments, often you just physically separate them one from the other. Okay. Prevention of personnel overlap, personal trading limitation. Okay. That certain traders or people are allowed to trade or they're not allowed to trade. Okay. Proprietary trading procedures. Okay. If the firm does undertake proprietary trading, this must be reviewed or restricted. Okay. And let's go top of page 20, application of the standard. Okay. Let's have a look. I just want to go down a little bit over here, and let's see if we can find a nice question. I'm going to just skip a couple over here. Okay. Okay. I want to look at case number 6. Okay. Javagal is a motor analyst. He's doing research on a company called Slowcar and concludes that the company's upcoming results will be very poor. His conclusions are based on discussions with salespeople, banking officials, and currency experts. Okay, and what does he do? He changes his recommendation in his report to a sell. He doesn't think this company is going to do very well. Okay, and of course this is fine. Okay, the information that he got is not material. Okay, and it's public. Okay, so that of course would then be fine. Okay, so that's a bit of an easier one. Nothing too crazy over there. A bit of a gentle question for you. Okay, we move on a little bit over here, guys. Okay, let us jump ahead. I'm not going to do too many more of these with you. Let's move to standard. Okay, to be integrity of capital markets, market manipulation. Okay, let's go over here. Members and candidates must not engage in practices that distort prices or artificially inflate trading volume. But look at the key word over here. So we're looking at two components over here. Number one, okay, that distort prices or trading volumes. But look what you have to have with the intent. There's got to be intent to mislead market participants. Okay. Look at the guidance over here. Market manipulation is forbidden, of course, which includes distort security prices or volume. And look over here, here's your key, with the intent to deceive those that rely on the information in the market. We talk about two kinds of manipulation. Information-based, things like spreading false rumors, pumping up prices. We call this the pump and dump strategy. You pump the price up with false information, the price moves up, then you sell, you dump later on when the price has moved higher. You've also got transaction-based manipulation, okay, where a member knew or in fact should have known that their actions will affect the price of a security. Okay, what type of things would be included over here? Okay, transactions that artificially affect prices or volume. Okay, or kind of like give the impression, okay, of interest within a particular security. Okay, or securing a controlling position in an instrument in order to exploit the price of that particular instrument, either the derivative or the underlying thereof. Let's have a look at a question over here. Okay, we can just pick the first one, nice and easy. Okay, Robert owns a financial information business. He enters into an agreement to promote the stock of Small Cap, a small company listed on the New York Stock Exchange. The fee for doing so is both cash and stock in Small Cap. Okay. He sends out emails, newsletters, and makes full use of social media to hype up the interest. He does not do any research on this. He sends out inaccurate and misleading statements about Small Cap. And then, of course, the price of Small Cap rises significantly because he's done such a lovely job on promoting it. Okay, so of course here, Robert has violated standard 1B market manipulation by sending out inaccurate and misleading information. Okay, his intent was manipulating the price. Okay, and look over here, just something interesting, and we're not going to go into any kind of detail now because we're going to wait till we get to it in the next sections. But his actions inadvertently has also violated standard 5A, which is diligence and reasonable basis. He didn't do sufficient work on the company, and also violated standard 6A, which is disclosure of conflicts. Okay, so there we go. So often when you get a violation, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky in ethics, you've got to say, well, what did he really violate? Well, here he violated seemingly standard 2B, 5A, and 6A. Okay, so you can often get that, and the question may say, well, he violated perhaps all of the above. Okay, let us move down over there, guys. Okay, a little bit more. Okay, we are up to duties to clients, standard 3, but I think let's take a break in the video now. Okay, we will continue with video number 2 of standards of professional conduct guidance in the very next video.